As we start chapter 4.1 starts to get into what we call probability distributions. And one of the things they're getting into is what's called the discrete random variable. So remember, this is where things can be counted. Discrete kind of means countable. So as we come across these words again, mean and variance and standard deviation. So we're going to apply this to what they call a probability distribution. So again, to the mean of a discrete random variable is given by this formula here. So remember, mu is for like the total population. It's going to be the sum of x times the probability of x. So each value of x is multiplied by its corresponding probability, and the products are added, and that gives us kind of what we call the mean of it all. So if I look at the problem down at the bottom here, notice how we have find the mean of the following probability distribution. So the probability distribution for personal inventory test for passive aggressive traits is discussed in example 2, is shown below. So remember, we had these scores 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on a survey. And you know how most things are is I can't remember which way it was, but 1 indicates one extreme, 5 indicates the other extreme, and then 3 is kind of more in the middle of showing no passive or aggressive traits. If you look at the probabilities as percentages, if you will, 60% displayed 1, 22% was the 2, 28% was the 3, the 4 was 20%, and the 5 was 0.14. So if I pick on the mean, the mean is kind of the middle value. Notice that most people pick this 3, but notice how it also kind of leans a little bit more to the left than it does to the right in that sense. So I would say the mean is just probably a shade left of this 3. So as they did this math here, they come up with this 2.94. And remember, since we're talking about scores of 1, 2, 3, and 4, we want to round it just one decimal place. So that becomes then this 2.9. So it's got to be rounded to the first decimal place. Now, instead of doing all that by hand, we can do this using a calculator. So see if I can make this work on a calculator as well. So you may not be able to see the numbers as much, but we really just need to see the calculator. So remember, under statistics is where we locate where we can actually put tables in. So we have edit, we can make a new table. And to do a probability distribution, what we do, again, I'm going to clear that off there. So I went up to L1, hit clear, and then came back down. So in L1, we're going to put the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 in L1. So that was the actual scores: 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And what I'm going to do on the other column is put their probabilities for each one. So that was the 0.16, the 0.22, the 0.28, and the 0.20, or just 0.2, and then 0.14. So if I want the calculator to do this mean for the random variable, discrete random variable, what I can do is hit the stat button, and under calculate, I choose 1 vars. So notice how we have list 1 is L1. The frequency is our percentages. That's the probabilities. So the frequency is going to be, like 16% of the time, 22% of the time, 20% of the time. So that's all going to be coming from list 2. So to get to list 2, that's going to be above the 2. So if we hit the second button and hit the 2, that'll give us this L2. So if we now hit enter and calculate it, notice that it does give me this X bar, which also stands for mean. So it's going to be that 2.94 that they got from the table. But here we can actually generate it using the calculator. So again, they rounded it to 2.9. Now, the other thing we need to do is find variance and standard deviation. So remember, variance is sigma squared and standard deviation is sigma. And notice down here that they got 1.6 for the variance and they got 1.3 for the standard deviation. And they did it using the formula and did all the math. If we look at the calculator, notice that sigma x is 1.27. And notice that in our table, they said 1.3. Notice how they ran it to the tens place. So notice how we would have had that 7 would make that 1.3. So notice how we can do standard deviation right there and get that. Now to get the variance, it's got to be sigma squared. To do sigma squared, that's where we went to vars on your calculator. So if we hit vars, notice that number 5 was statistics. And that allows me to choose the sigma x, which is the standard deviation. So if I choose number 4, if I square that, that will actually give me the variance, which is going to be that 1.61. And also how they had that 1.614. If you look at the calculator, we also have that 1.614. And if you round it to one place, that would be 1.6. So we can do the mean, the variance, and the standard deviation using the calculator. So feel free to watch that a few times to pick up on what we did there.